Right. I've got my chat windows open. They're above everything else so that I can be forced to read the chat. We're cooking up some shit, y'all. Like, y'all gotta check this out. All right, so I've repositioned where the chat history or the game, message history pops up. It's going to be on the right-hand side now. Introducing dungeon props. Here we got a chair. We've got a statue. We got another chair. Yet another chair, a banner, and a table. The table is physical. You can't walk through it. You can't push it. I might change it so that you can push it. The statue's pushable. The chairs you can walk on top of. The banners are currently purely for visual effect, but I might make it so that you can swipe at them and perhaps cut them down. I think that might be cool. Also, we got Rat. Y'all might have seen him last stream. Oh, this is a room full of shit. Everything is kind of randomly placed, and so there are going to be sometimes situations at the moment when the random generation process creates a situation that's like impossible to pass. As an example of this, you might have three or four tables in front of a door, and it prevents you from accessing the door. So I'm going to work on ways around that, either through more intelligent positioning of things or by some other mechanic, such as being able to set things on fire. Don't forget that we have a magic spell that does kill enemies and it does burn doors. But we can actually just get rid of the door entirely. Another such impossible situation would be if you were to accidentally push a statue on top of a downstairs tile or an upstairs tile in such a way that you are not able to undo the move. So in addition to push mechanics, I also want pull mechanics, because eventually I'm going to have you be able to drag dead bodies around. The reason you might want to do that is because a dead body might have usefulness. For instance, there might be an altar that you want to sacrifice a body to and get some bonus from deity. Or maybe there's a switch on the ground somewhere and you don't have a box or a statue or some other weighted object that can sit on top of that tile in order to activate it. Speaking of, we're going to have activation tiles at some point. I'm already thinking about widgets, such as like switches and levers. I'm thinking about how to wire them up to existing entities in a way that you can activate something on the entity. My dog's been pretty needy this afternoon. I might have to take her out again in a minute, just to make sure she's all pee-peed out. A bit of a jitter when moving diagonally. I'm going to take note of that. All right. My dog is called. I'll be right back. All right. All right, here's what I want to do first. Leveraging the power of, quote, artificial intelligence, otherwise known as LLMs, in particular DeepSeek, because it's cheap, inexpensive, and very good for what little it does cost. Everybody be out there trying to one-shot shit with Claude, constantly getting stuff wrong and just wasting tokens, wasting money. Not here at Evil Dojo. Here, we have learned to make money stretch. Here's how we do that. New branch, 8 unit tests. What? Hey, tests pass. It's not bad so far. Greetings, all viewers. Merry Christmas. Hope everyone's having a lovely day. I'm using DeepSeek to write some unit tests and to kind of grow the beginnings of a formal testing framework to like automate playing and play testing and things like that, because this game is starting to get pretty big and I gotta start preparing for being able to speed up my testing processes. There are a lot of features that really require like far more manual testing than I'm currently doing, and it's time we start building some of that out. My dog is crying for me again. She didn't have dinner for like another 50 minutes, but she has had to go out a lot today. I don't know what's going on, but at any rate, stay tuned and we're going to do a lot more today. And at some point I'm going to eat. But in the meantime, please go ahead and check out my game. What's currently up is up at evildojo.itch.io. All right, so that was a success. I built all three of those really fast. Cost of the game is going up. Wait, what did I include? Oh, was I including TXT? Yeah. Look at that. 666. So the motivation for this overhaul is that in our testing environment, when we're writing individual unit tests, one of the things that we want to do is create very isolated dungeon environments. For instance, a dungeon with only one floor and only 3x3. This would make it very easy, even playtesting, to isolate some sort of glitch or bug with a specific mechanic or component that you're experiencing. The whole idea being to like create a sandbox where you can kind of just fuck around and do experiments and stuff, right? And if your assumptions are correct, then everything goes smoothly. But if something about your initial assumptions is off and you realize, oh, this is not written correctly, that gives you an opportunity to dig in and actually fix something. Because the more bugs that the game has, the less likely people are going to want to play it, right? Like any sort of thing that like interrupts immersion is totally not good for your game. And obviously the game crashing when attacking a skeleton and drop inventory gets called, it's not good. And I'm not sure if it's a bug with logic or if it's a bug with the graphical implementation, but I've experienced it twice now. It's kind of annoying. I haven't looked at drop inventory yet, but I actually took this time to set up the unit testing framework because it's going to be really important to kind of like build out automating these things going forward. You know, there can be a very easy way that unit tests are integrated into the development of new features after you build out the code, as I've done with many features already, from beginning, you know, conception to implementation to playtesting, verification that things work as we think they should work. But what about more complicated situations where the number of effects begin to stack and we want to be able to simulate large running environments without having to necessarily play them ourselves? Merry Christmas, Dulce. Glad to see you. Happy holidays. Just over here doing some unit test stuff. I actually just got Ader to write out a few for me. So the ones I wrote were here and here, and then everything from here down to here is all Ader. The Ader just stubbed out, you know, like over 100 lines of code for me. One of the things I want to do actually is implement, I thought, you know, because it's Christmas and, you know, I live in a place where it never snows, and I think I've seen snow maybe like once here out of like a decade. and it wasn't much snow at all. No, wait, no, I take it back. Twice. There was the big winter freeze in 2021. But also when I was in high school, there was like a very light snow day. And I'm talking like centimeters. But it was enough to cause roads to be undrivable, even people would drive, even though they shouldn't. It is what it is. Yeah, for real. Like I figure unit test is a great use case. Like it actually, like we were able, in a few cases, it made some false assumptions about how certain variables work and managed to correct itself. But, working with just the default game state object is like what we're doing here is like extremely basic, just testing like individual variable values and manipulating them. Whereas when things are going to get more complicated is when I move some of the dungeon initialization code, or rather wrap it, by the game state object class itself. Because recently I migrated game state from a struct to a class, and it was rather easy to do, but I kind of cheated a bit because I just took all of the struct properties and I shoved them into public like a bad boy. Now this is going to eventually bite me in the ass somehow, but it compiles and it runs like everything's gravy except for this crash involving the skeleton. I don't know which function is necessarily crashing, and it would be kind of helpful to know that at crash time, but like without all messaging enabled and flooding the terminal with output, it's going to be very hard to be selective. That's why I try to aim for like a messaging in the debug panel, rather the terminal for debugging, only at certain levels in the call stack. So like certain core functions. Like I used to spam, like it sucks when I have to like get into the debugging the graphics. Ideally, I kind of get to be hands off with the graphics because everything is mostly supposed to work the same way. A lot of it is just like state management and making sure that like certain things have things. Where was I going with that? Yeah, initializing this thing is a bitch. Game state has so much shit. And I feel like I began to experience performance limits when I ran things. So like let's take a look at the game again. Oh, this is great. See, this is a perfect example of one of these impossible situations. is here we have a with a statue, which if there were open space in front of it, I could push it. And something crashed. Interesting. Okay. Another crash witnessed. Here's another impossible situation. So we got all these tables, and unless I can push the statue down to the right, I won't be able to enter the room at all. Sure enough. Boop boop. So I actually note that this happens. I'm actually aware that this is a situation. Let's see. The real question is what to focus on fixing, what to work on immediately, right? It would be helpful if we could reproduce the crash, and it's possible that the bug is not in any of the lib lodging functions, because the unit testing framework currently does not deal with the graphic situation. We'll eventually get to handling that as well. But at a certain point, it works pretty well. And I haven't had any plans to rewrite the graphic stack yet. Maybe soon. Reproducing these is difficult. But just for shits and giggles, we could actually look at drop item. No. And manage inventory. Drop all from inventory. What? Oh, she's trying to say she's hungry. I'll get her in a minute. Oh, there we go. Okay, so the crash was happening when I was moving. All right. I gotta feed my dog. Cat's clawing at my computer again. I'll wake my brain up a bit. I made some s'mores. Kind of ghetto ones, but they're tasty as fuck. Using saltines with chocolate chips and mini marshmallows. Hit those in the microwave. It's not bad. Alright, so there's really a lot to do. But first, let's take a look at WebLogic. So at the moment, we actually pass game state into liblogic init. So let's think about this. Because structure matters and we don't want to make things too weird. At this point, it's about order of operations. What do I mean by this? liblogic init is actually the first function that gets called in this whole thing. It even happens before the graphics are loaded. First things first, we initialize the game state. You know, it's just very straightforward. And in the process of doing so, the first thing we do is actually call liblogic init. So instead of calling liblogic init, we could be calling something like g.liblogic init or something to this effect. And it would just be a wrapper. Like, we could move this into such a function, but then we have the problem of passing references into each function that takes it. Because, you know, like beginning to like restructure things in this way would allow something like our unit test framework to more easily create very specific conditions for testing individual scenarios that we might want to construct. So in order to achieve this kind of level of automation, I'm going to have to be very granular, perhaps boring. But it's all in the name of creating and developing a roguelike framework effectively that will be flexible in the future to allow for other types of games to be made. I'm not spawning any boxes at the moment. So let's imagine that we wanted to actually yank a lot of this code over into game state and have it actually be a function on game state, right? All right, so it's a void function, right? We could just call it logic init. Now, we face an interesting dilemma when calling init dungeon here, because normally we would be passing in like an external reference is passed down through parameters. However, here we're attempting to call a function that takes a game state reference inside of the game state class itself. So how do we handle this? Oh, we have yet another problem. So now this is one of the downsides of the header only implementation schema. So you run into situations where you kind of have circular references. Is we're calling a function that requires game state. So this introduces an interesting ordering problem, right? So I'm going to actually create a new branch to work on this. This is an interesting ordering problem. All right, so init dungeon, right? This being such a standalone file, this should be a rather easy thing for us. So here we're gonna get rid of game state. And anytime we need to access anything in game state, we just get rid of the G dot. And all of that still looks good. So now we can actually get rid of init dungeon.h. So in liblog or logic init, we now do that. So the next issue would be with play stores. Doom, doom, doom. What's good, honeypot? Merry Christmas, brother. Yeah, fuck ISPs in general, man. Sometimes I get errors when attempting to access my own fucking website because of that incident that happened on GitHub last year. Even even X.com was like blacklisting my site. Because of Linktree? Yeah, oh no, don't link off site. Man, so few people fuck with PGP, man. You know, like I realized even back in college, like a lot, like almost 20 fucking years ago, that like the major impediment to regular usage of some of these tools was often just user interface. Like, it's kind of a pain in the ass to get like PGP and shit like GPG set up properly. I've gone through the process multiple times myself already, and it's just like, goddamn. Not to mention, obviously, with systems like this, people have to opt in. Like, there's nothing that says that just because you have a PGP key and you start signing all your messages means that anybody is ever gonna check that shit or give a fuck. However, in very specific use cases, it can be kind of useful. I've often thought, like, you know, it'd be kind of cool if there was like some sort of central repository of like public keys, so that if anyone signs some shit, that you could just pull up their public key and it's automatically ready for you to go. There would be kind of a cool streamlining effect where like you could even have like a CLI interface that, like, given someone's name, instantly performs a lookup via API call and just comes back with like the correct key, assuming that is stored, of course. But that's like the extent of it. Like I've thought about like ways to create like usable end-to-end communication systems, because oftentimes like once you get the underlying technology correct, it's really easy to kind of build a user interface around it and kind of make, because a lot of people really prioritize visual appearance. It's fucking terrible that the human brain operates this way. This is why like corporate society is so dominated by like appearances, how things look, user experience. Like there's so many different ways to look at user experience. Like I'm already mad that most of like the web, for instance, is like right-handed, right? Like a lot of user interface controls are right hand oriented. It's like there's kind of this assumption that you're right hand mousing, you've got one hand on the keyboard, you got one hand on the mouse, and whether or not you're right or left-handed, this actually impacts like which side of the screen you kind of like focus your attention on mostly. If things were designed in a way that took the entire screen in mind, we would have exit buttons in the center of the screen. You know what I mean? Like there is definitely like an orientation when it comes to user interface handedness. Now I'm dealing with a right hand that is kind of fucked up, you know, long story short. And I can only type with my thumb on my right hand. So everything that I'm busting out, I'm doing it with fucking 6 fingers. So I'm already operating with like a fraction of what normal people are already expected to deal with. So these are things I've had to think about, and how to best optimize my ability to maximize the utility of every keystroke, because every keystroke counts when you can't waste any. You know, when you naturally have less gas than the average person, and you have to figure out, how do I get further ahead than everyone else who has more gas than me? I've fucked with split keyboards, but honestly, in my situation, like, it does not feel right. However, I have really fallen in love with the DOS keyboard series, to the point where I've owned multiple. I think I'm on my 4th and 5th ones. I spilled a drink on my 4th one, and I still need to clean it. I've been really lazy about it, to the point where I actually just bought a 5th one to replace it, so I didn't have to clean it right away. I really should clean it, because it's the cherry blue switches, right? And those feel and sound far superior to the cherry brown switches. Which, while, you know, it's nice, I like that clicky feel. I like that lightweight response. I'm so sensitive to vibration, I guess, that level kind of matters to me. With the brown switches, it almost feels like you have to hammer the key down in comparison to the cherry blue switches. Sphere one. I've never heard of a Sphere keyboard. Now I'm gonna have to look that up. Oh, what the flying shit fuck. I mean, I see some images. I'm not sure that these are real keyboards that you can use. That's kind of interesting. Google had this one prank that they pulled. They did like a fake product ad on April Fool's one year with this Mobius strip keyboard that was really sick. I wish that were usable. Yeah, it's interesting to think about alternate user interfaces and ways to put input into a machine. You know, like thinking in terms, because, you know, I think a lot of people take the default paradigms for granted. Keyboard, mouse, touch. Like, there was a whole ass class on biometric in the computer science department, like when I was going to school, which was literally 20 years ago. Like, I attended from 04 to 08. So it's 2025. 20 years ago would have been 2005. I would have been 1 year into my degree plan. And in transferring to university at that. So I've done research on the keyboard layouts, and I think for right-handed people, Dvorak is a really interesting option to explore. But because I'm naturally left-handed, QWERTY ends up being kind of optimal for left-handers. It's kind of interesting how that works. Like, I think like most children, I was resistant to learning home row when I was in middle school. I wanted to hunt and peck, like most people, right? I actually remember, like, when I worked my first corporate job and I encountered someone who was still a hunt and pecker, and I thought to myself, this guy's getting paid $60,000 plus a year, and he's hunting and pecking with 2 index fingers. Like, that's how I used to type. But eventually I got used to home row, and I realized, you know, putting my right hand in the correct spot where it would go if I had all 5 fingers to work with. It's my thumb effectively, you know, like, my right hand thumb ends up being used for tasks that might be otherwise done with the index finger. Yeah, I play right-handed guitar. It's funny how that works. The only problem I have with the right hand is that I can't grip my fucking pick to save my life. And it's always sliding out of my fucking fingers. Which impacts my ability to get, like, really good picks in when I'm actually, like, trying to get, like, good effect. I have a really nice guitar that I have barely touched since last Christmas. And I've got all the gear necessary to, like, plug it in and actually stream playing stuff if I want to. You know, that would be really interesting to explore 3D designing a custom pick. Like, I can imagine some of the things that I might require from such a pick. But at the same time, also, I can see that the best way to do it would involve me having to make a cast, like a mold of my hand gripping in a certain fashion, you know, the way that I would imagine strumming. And from there, somehow get that into some 3D Blender type software. I mean, shit. There's one dude out there who's literally got no right hand. Bill Clements. It's a bassist, and he fucking rocks the shit with just tapping. You know what I mean? Like, people find ways to make it work. Generally, what I've done to, like, work with picks is I'll get some sort of, like, powder, like baseball type powder, to, like, help dry my fingers, or Just keep a towel on hand. I've even gone as far as using duct tape to try and duct tape the, my hand together to like force the grip in place. But there's nothing quite like playing guitar long enough to start to develop calluses and really blister your fingers a bit. The other problem too is I gotta really restring my shit. Like, could use different strings potentially. I may or may not have the light gauge strings that I'd like. No, this is a really good guitar though. I actually got this one specifically because full-size guitars, especially operating towards the neck, or like really high up on the neck or low, whichever direction you're thinking, starts to, it becomes really painful to like do chords, or even navigate that part of the fret. So the guitar I got is actually a 3/4 size. And it looks really nice. And I got a sick fucking strap for it. Also a really sick amp. Has a bunch of different effects on it. I can make it sound like fucking death metal. Paracorder keyboard. Oh, that's interesting. Kind of like how it looks. I feel like it might be fun to use. That's really neat to look. That's really neat looking. Seems like they got different models too. That's really, really interesting. Yeah, I can see like it would take a little bit of getting used to. But I can already imagine not only using it, but also making a lot of typos. It's kind of like got a like each switch is kind of context based. Instead of like a regular key, you can have multiple keys mapped to a single input thingy and be able to switch it or like select it based off direction. That's very curious. No, Rust will not forgive you for typos. Ask me how I know. I used Rust long enough to respect it, to know its place, and to know why it exists. I also think that a lot of the problems that Rust attempts to solve can be solved better. Right, so what's going to happen here? I wonder if there are any problems that Rust has actually solved. My biggest problem with Rust and Go in particular isn't with the language itself. It's with how the package management system relies primarily upon things that are hosted on GitHub. Oh. Well, here's how we'll deal with that. Speed in embedded places, I think, and maybe where you can worry more about it. Well, yeah, well, like, I find it really curious that Rust has managed to find its way into the kernel, for one. And two, even in embedded, I imagine Rust with like a context to like ARM applications might be interesting. Like I did a test a while back where I wrote a small program that demonstrates exactly why, or something that Rust would not allow to compile, that would crash if it did, that G and GCC and G++ did compile, and it crashed because it did not do any sort of verification or validation, whereas the borrow checker totally prevented shit from even proceeding. It would be real. See, one of the reasons I'm not doing this in Rust is that the raylib, like there's an experimental Rust binding for raylib, but yeah, like certain situations like that should not be like patched or like kind of like handled in like a ghetto manner. It should be really formal in those cases. But often when you end up in those situations, it's because you've started to crisscross systems and like have somehow like fallen out of like a proper like operational like access hierarchy, which is one of the reasons why like a lot of people, while they shit on OOP, you know, at the same time, neither Go nor Rust has any sort of formal object-oriented capacity capable in it. So here's how we're going to fix this situation. So originally I was using a Lambda function that I was using called setSolid. That would simply set something to be solid and set it to be pushable. So we're going to yank that. So for here, setSolid, we'll actually call it here. Bevy. The framework you're thinking of is called Bevy. And I actually do have some old code on my GitHub from when I did some experiments implementing a old shoot 'em up in Bevy. And that's one of the things that actually got me really interested in entity component frameworks to begin with. It was also like one of my first times really diving into Rust. I think it would be interesting to do stuff in Rust in the future. But at the same time, it provides all of the gotcha moments necessary to bring me. It makes me feel like a kid again, in that you're constantly running up into problems and you don't know how to deal with them, and you have to learn what the right way to do something is. And that's a very good and humbling feeling. But at the same time, like, there's certain tools that I do want to use. And actually it would be really interesting to, like, for the next project, like, get really deep into like Rust and Vulkan at the same time. So I've seen enough videos that demonstrate kind of the beginnings of how to create your own framework from the ground up, and I think that's really interesting too. Excuse me. I've seen a couple of her streams, yeah. Similar is Tokyo Spliff, I believe. So far, so good. I'm having to do this kind of line by line. we're replicating the logic and lib logic over into game state. But at every step of the way, I'm basically re-implementing new versions of old functions that no longer take game state as a parameter. This is part of that restructuring and reordering I was talking about. Raylib is a graphics and input library written by a single Spanish developer named Ray something. His online his Twitter handle is rayson5, and it's a really good replacement for libSDL. And when I say really good, I mean, sure, 2D graphics is real easy at a certain level, but one of the big things that he offers is a very comprehensive 3D interface to OpenGL. Like, you can do 3D things, load in Blender models, do full skeletal animations. There's a lot on his website that shows a lot of demos, and it's entirely written in C. It's really good. One of the biggest up-and-coming projects on GitHub. I used to sponsor it, but I'm starting to become broke. I can't sponsor shit. But I highly recommend it. All right, so we're not actually using that yet, but I like doing game dev from this angle a lot more than I like the prospect of having to learn something like Game Maker or Unity or Unreal even. If I was going to learn any of the three, I would probably lean towards Unreal, but there's still a lot about software and the developer paradigm that just, like, for one, to even use Unity, you have to log in. I just find this like an egregious, atrocious violation of everything that it is that I stand for with regards to like software usage and development. Like, how dare you ask me to log into your fucking IDE of all things? Just to be able to use other people's pre-made assets? Fuck you. I didn't spend all of this time learning how to code to like submit to some other person's way of doing things like that. No, if I'm going to use your tools, I have to agree with the way that things work. To be fair, the Roombas are legit. And actually, I think Roomba actually just filed for bankruptcy. I've actually had more than one at this point. And the biggest problem with the Roomba is actually cleaning them. Especially if you have dogs or other animals. And it's like, it gets like all of the hair wrapped up in the wheels to the point where you have to use something like a fucking knife to cut through it. It's actually a good vacuum cleaner. And it's kind of cool watching it like roam around and shit. Like, the ones that I buy, Like, honestly, dude, the ones that I buy, I never got like the ones that have the crazy app connectivity or shit like that. That you don't have. First of all, the entry level models don't even have that capability. Like, there is no Wi-Fi, there is no app on the basic like entry level Roomba. That's the only one I ever bought because I thought having an app for that shit is overkill. Like, I don't need to like fucking manage my shit from a fucking app. I just want to be able to have a robot that every so often decides it's time to clean the fucking apartment. And that's exactly what it did. Not to mention, when lined up properly, watching it like put itself back onto the power charger was really cool. And I was using those 10 years ago. Back when I was making some pretty good money as a security consultant, I decided, why not? I deserve it. And it was pretty cool. You know, it felt really futuristic. Not having to manually vacuum and being able to like get something else done while the vacuum's going off, for instance. You get that sense of like really multitasking, which is really nice. Like, when you think smart home, that's what I think is like some shit actually doing its job. And that did it. I can't speak for the other like competitor models, but my experience with robot vacuums is if you get the ones without the app connectivity, you should be fine. Now, it'd be interesting if like someone found some sort of tracking device or whatever, even in the models that like don't have the Wi-Fi connectivity or whatever. But to my knowledge, that hasn't happened. Can't believe they filed for bankruptcy. That's crazy. Are people just... I don't know. Vacuums is a big deal, but at the same time, it's like, how often you gotta vacuum? It's kind of a function of where you live and how much dust and dirt kind of accumulate, and the human body is gross. It's just like constantly shedding shit. Didn't go like that. Oh fuck. Oh shit. But hey, you didn't put the trackers in those entry-level models. The truth is out. We gotta shut you down. You failed to meet your quota. Damn, that's fucked. No, I actually had this revelation about data collection when I worked in corporate iOS development. And we were setting up like these local businesses with like rewards programs, and they were rewards programs that like you could have a card, like a punch card, a digital punch card in your iPhone, because we only supported iPhone at the time, right? Like, even the name of the fucking company had an I in the front of it. Like, so we were setting up these rewards programs where if you bought 10 sandwiches, for instance, at this one sandwich shop, that you would get the 11th for free, up to a certain value, of course, within reason. But I thought that was cool. It was almost like, hey, we were incepting our ability to get like cheaper sandwiches. Oh god, I can only imagine like if the shop was still even around and they were like fucking around with AI. We were doing like, they had some AR experiments, and they had some like limited like face tracking stuff going on as like side projects. Like, we had this one Nerf gun that was like connected to a camera, and when it was turned on and activated, it could detect when people walked into the room and actually fire darts at them. Let's add in AI. God, I fucking hate how much AI shit is being forced into things. Alright, so Um, all right. Alright, create shield atlas. Create weapon atlas. If I cared about shareholder value, I wouldn't be making a dungeon crawler. That's for damn sure. Dungeon crawling is one of the most slept on genres. Why is that? With the popularity of Dungeons and Dragons having exploded in recent years as a result of the success of games like Baldur's Gate 3, one could argue that dungeon crawling is actually more popular than ever. However, old school dungeon crawling, and that roguelike specifically, are not as popular. I think if you were to put turn-based games and real-time games side by side, more people would prefer real-time games. I actually know how to do my own crypto meme coins in Algorand. I've walked through the API sufficiently to the point where I've issued my own coins to myself on the testnet. And I thought, man, this is retarded. I don't feel like doing this anymore. And I stopped. So, because I thought of like all of the fucking effort and work that goes into like hyping coins and like fucking marketing and shit. Like, I'm just like, I don't want to do any of that. I don't care how easy it is to issue a token. Like this shit is not technically interesting. Attempting to like game people for their money, that is so like typical sociopath behavior. Typical like, oh, I want to be the guy. I want to be the big shot tech CEO bro who's like pulling in venture capital money and angel investors and going to the yacht parties with the fucking shades and the champagne and the hot ladies. Like, I don't care about any of that shit. That's not what I want to do. That is not what I care about. I mean, sure, yeah, you get some success. It's like cool to celebrate. It was never the point, though. Like, the party environment itself could be the byproduct of something real that was created rather than a focal point of the outcome. So when you do make it, it's worth celebrating, but it's like, what did you make? You made a bunch of people give you money? Oh, okay. Anybody can do that. It's about what do you offer? Why do people give you money? Now, the problem here is we have dagger init test, right? So in order to replicate this behavior, at the moment, because I have not added in the custom function behavior yet. What we're gonna have to do at the moment ain't all that. So that's how we initialize a dagger. That's why I was actually wrapping it into a custom function, because the idea being you don't have to create like a whole ass function for every single thing, but there are certain things that you want to template out because you might end up needing to call that more than once. So instead of having like a create dagger at and a create sword at and a create at, because they're all weapons, we just have one unifying function called create weapon at with. And the original idea is to pass in a function containing all of this information. So that way, every time we wanted to create something, we could do that. At the moment, I'm not dropping other things very often, but we are creating things that go inside of the orc. So that's going to be an interesting challenge when we get to it. This is a temporary conversion step. Because we're not using the main new init method yet. That's why I'm replacing each call in the original init method first. Because once we've completed this, then we can kind of swap over to use the other one as our main entry point into the game. I'm just curious though, we haven't built the game in a while, and actually create door at with, we actually don't really need any of this anymore. Will it build? Kind of like, will it blend? Except will it build? Uh-oh. Lib logic. Get dungeon and unknown type game state. Will it run? Oh, interesting. Table 2 is not being set as or wait, was that a chair or a table that I walked on top of? Oh. Yeah. There we are. Okay, I haven't totally broken everything. Great shield. Likely and unlikely. No, that sounds new. There's a lot of super new features that I haven't even began to explore. So that's interesting. I wonder what that's like, or how to use those. I wonder if it's anything like maybe an optional. I found them to be really useful. It kind of mimics some of Rust's like feel. All right, so we're yanking this and going into game state. Okay, so now let's take a look at kite shield and knit test. Oh wait, I have an idea. Then instead of having to do all this, we just call dagger and knit test. Yeah, it doesn't like that. Like we're running into like Ford declaration type shit. We'll get around to it. Yo, Jira, Merry Christmas, my brother. I'm doing some kind of dumbass overhaul at the moment in preparation for better unit testing. So it might be a minute before things are rolling again here. Um, okay, things builds. Ooh, we got another crash. All right. I'm not sure what caused the crash. I'm still gonna have to dig out like what the fuck is even going on there. A lot of this started happening after I added in props. Gonna be a lot of cleanup when this is done. I feel like it'll be worth it. Man, I have to piss. What's the next thing I gotta do? Add message. Okay. One should be easy. Right, I gotta pee. All right, let's see where things are at. So I'm probably not going to do liblogic today, but it's also in scope for being refactored in a similar manner. Some of these other things too, like close and update state and a lot of this stuff, will eventually get pulled over into game state as well. But for now, I think it would be sufficient. So actually, because of the way that we're doing it, our main, instead of calling liblogic init, we call glogic init. And it should all technically work the same way. Now, assuming, because I did hard code in a couple things, no more full random for enemy selection at the moment, just orcs with a dagger and a potion. So for instance, create random monster at with, it's going to default to creating an orc, though we generate a, well, actually we're not forcing orc, actually we're doing that. Actually we should force it to be orc, because they're the only ones with the proper damage animations or proper attack animation. And then we manually create a dagger. Manually create a potion. Add both to the orc's inventory. Equip the weapon, set its name, and then return the ID. Okay, time to test it. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Well, that's why I created a whole new branch for it in case I fuck up so badly. Well, $1 is the recommended donation amount. Anything that's up on the web on itch is free to play, but it makes it easier for people to play across platforms, that's for sure. But at some point, can you even consider distributing the index files themselves? I'd be curious to see why this is breaking. Okay, so it might be breaking. Info. Oh, oops, comma. Oh, you know what? This is not a good, not a good function call for this. We don't want to call at with on this. We only want to call create potion with. I bet that was it. There we go. Everything's still good. Although, I do need to move the debug panel. So that's something I could do right now. It's too far over. What the actual fuck? Oh. We subtract from here for some reason. Oh, and then X? No. It could be padded over like 5. That's not bad. Ouch. Got his ass. That's a cool arrangement, how that happened. We have another impossible to pass situation. So due to the arrangement of the statues and the tables, this door is blocked off and I can't proceed. Damn. So I have a whole function for place props. And for testing purposes, I'm able to turn it on and off at will. So if I want to get rid of all props, back to normal. I think they look cool, honestly. And maybe we can have them in still, but maybe make them more rare. That way there's a less chance of such a situation happening. Now, the cool thing with that migration that I just did is that now in the unit testing, we'll be able to initialize the dungeon floor and actually place entities and begin building out the ability to actually simulate gameplay without ever actually running the real game. This is going to probably be one of the last big things that I do for the game in 2025. But rest assured that, you know, the whole plan is to build out the infrastructure to really engineer this thing. So we can eliminate all bugs, and whenever we're actually building out new features, things happen very clean and smooth and all that good stuff. Bitch. That was a tough guy. They're stuck. Ah. Actually, I gotta update that Nightbot message because it is technically incorrect. Thank you. I think I actually have the Escapist on my PSN. Okay, I've updated the Nightbot messaging. 'Cause yeah, like I said, my game is free to play. I wish I could say it was my art, but I'm using an asset pack by the talented Krishna Palacio, and I died. So when we hit the R key, refresh. And everything still looks like it's all good. Almost got an impossible to pass situation there. Full inventory. There's no real proper handling for it at the moment. Technically, you can have an infinite inventory. Oh shit, I got hammered there. Alright, well, I feel like that's all working good for right now. Yeah, like I said earlier, you're going to be a lot of stuff to clean up here. Don't need this anymore either. $83 of nerdy templates. Technically, we could get rid of the whole orc test entirely. Eventually, these might come back, but... Probably don't even need this anymore either. Everything still builds. My baby just woke up. I think we're coming up on 4 hours on the stream, so it might be time to take a break. Everything looks good though. All right, time to take a break, everybody. I want to thank y'all for joining tonight. It's always a pleasure to get on stream and do some dev for y'all. Thanks for all the chat. Thanks for hanging out. Sorry, I'm just now seeing the message on Twitch. What's your build system? I'm just doing straight make files, baby. That's how we roll. Anyway, Merry Christmas. I love you guys. Go play the game.